Good morning. Today we are going to continue with solving linear inequalities and focus on two-step inequalities and then also graphing those solutions. Just like you saw in the last lesson, solving two-step inequalities is, again, much like solving equations. Still that special rule, anytime you multiply or divide both sides of the equation or inequality by a negative, you must flip your inequality symbol. Okay, again, graphing, you have an open dot if you have a less than or greater than sign. Okay, that shows that it's not equal to that point. You can't use that actual number. And then a closed point if you have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And then shade towards the other numbers that make it true. And to make it easier when you're graphing, put your variable on the left side and the number on the right side, and make sure you flip your inequality sign if you do that, so that it shows you which way to graph just by looking at the symbol. Let's do a few problems and then go ahead and do a couple on your own before you do your individual practice. Okay, so the first one, we are going to start by drawing our line through the equal sign, inequality sign like we did with an equal sign. And then we need to decide what we need to do to get the p alone. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is add 1 to both sides. Okay, steps are the same as solving an equation. And when I'm adding or subtracting, I don't have to worry about flipping my sign. So I get -4 is greater than 2p. And then when my p is right next to the 2, to cancel I have to divide by 2 on both sides to get -2 is greater than p. Okay, this is your solution. We did not flip our inequality sign because that 2 that I divided by was positive, not negative. However, I do want to flip this over to make it look easier to graph. So when I do flip it over, remember that inequality sign goes as well. Okay, I'm going to label a few points here. I know you probably will have to label a few more to fill in all those tick marks. And then if it's not equal to, we have an open dot. And now that my p is first, that arrow shows me I need to shade to my left. Remember, there are several ways I showed in the last lesson that you can shade. This is how I typically do it, so you will see that often. Okay, let's do the next one. A lot of students look at this as a two-step problem. I actually typically would solve it as one step. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how it would be a two-step. Anytime you have something in the bottom of the fraction, remember it's actually a division problem. So the opposite of dividing by 4 would be to multiply by 4 on both sides. Now, if you multiply by -4, you have to flip your sign. Since that is a positive 4, we're going to leave our symbol the same. And now I have one more step. 6 and k are right next to each other, so I need to divide by 6 on both sides to get k is greater than or equal to 6. Again, I didn't flip my sign because that 6 that I divided by, was positive and not negative. Okay, remember positive numbers get bigger as you go to the right and smaller as you go to the left. Because this one's equal to, we're going to fill in our point there to show that we're using 6. 6 is a possibility. And that arrow tells me I need to shade to the right to show the bigger numbers. Okay, 2 more. -3r minus 5 is less than 25. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line in. And then to get the r by itself, just like I would in an equation, I need to cancel that -5. So we're going to go ahead and do +5 on both sides. And when we do that, we're left with -3r is less than 30. And then the 3 and r are right next to each other, so do not add 3 to both sides to cancel it. You need to divide by -3. Which gives us -10. And because that 3 was negative, we have to flip our inequality sign over. So we actually get r is greater than -10. The most common mistake that I see here is that students forget to flip that inequality sign over, which means they actually have the wrong set of numbers for their solutions. So graph on the wrong side, or shade on the wrong side. Okay, so open dot because it's not equal to, and shading to the right. Let's do one more. Okay, another fraction problem, because I know you all love fraction problems. Remember that a fraction problem is really just division. So to get rid of that big fraction there, to cancel a division problem, we need to multiply by 2 on both sides. Since that 2 is positive, we do not have to flip our inequality sign, even though the 3 is negative and we get -6 when we multiply. Okay, then our last step to get x alone is to add 5 to both sides. I'm not sure why we just switched to black, but we're good. And again, addition or subtraction doesn't affect my sign, so -6 plus 5 is -1. So my answer is x is less than or equal to -1. I'm going to go ahead and draw my number line in there. Doing some crazy things here on its own. So I have an open dot, I have a closed dot at -1. And then I am shading to the left for my solution. Okay, Go ahead and try those last 2 problems as guided practice. Have them checked before you go on to the individual practice to make sure you're really doing this correctly. If you aren't sure or it went too fast, hit pause, go back, look it over again, raise your hand if you need some help. Otherwise, have a great day.